Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Read and Reread. I am Angelia. Welcome if you are new to the channel. I'm going to do a small haul today. I know I said in my last haul, which was perhaps a month ago at best, that I was slowing my roll, and I did, but I do have a few books that I have acquired for specific reasons. There is no random, spur of the moment, impulse shopping in this little set of books. And it's just 6 books. I don't know why I'm coming on with this defensive stance because I don't know. But anyway, I just want to share with you these new books that I have brought into my library and tell you a little bit about them and why I chose them and all that good stuff. So let me know if you have read the books in this little mini haul, or if they sound interesting to you, or if you also recently bought something that you're excited about. You can tell me all that down in the comments. All right, here we go. The first book is by an author that I love very much, Octavia Butler, and the book is Wild Seed. I'll talk about it in a second, but first I have to show off my new t-shirt, so hang on. Check it out. Octavia Butler tried to tell us, if this shirt doesn't make sense to you, you need to go read Parable of the Sower. And I love my new nerdy shirt. I love all my nerdy shirts. But let's talk about Wild Seed. So this is the first book in a series called the Patternist series. Now I've read Kindred, Parable, the 2 Parable books, and a collection of short stories. But she also has 2 novel series, and one's Patternist, and the other one is called the Zeineddine series. And there's another standalone book called Fledgling that I'm not familiar with. So I decided to go ahead and try out this Patternist series that begins with Wild Seed. After I got it and started looking at it, I realized it really sounds more like fantasy than science fiction. And for some reason, a book that sort of straddles science and fiction and fantasy makes me think of the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, which I did really love, but that's another topic. So this book, here's the description. In an epic story of love and hate, 2 immortals chase each other across continents and centuries, binding their fates together and changing the destiny of the human race. So it begins in 17th century Nigeria and ends in 19th century America. And we have 2 kind of powerful entities, Doro and Anyanwu. And let's see, Doro is an ancient spirit with boundless powers. He possesses humans, killing without remorse as he jumps from body to body to sustain his own life. And Anyanwu is a healer. She could heal with a bite and transform her own body, mending injuries and reversing aging. She uses her powers to cure her neighbors and birth entire tribes. So we kind of have a force of good and a force of evil, and they begin to pursue one another, I suppose. And so now this is the kind of book where if I just picked this up in a bookstore and I wasn't familiar with the author, I probably would not buy it. I think, well, I don't know, that could be really cool, or it could be completely hokey. I don't know. But because it's Octavia Butler, I am putting my faith in her. And also, I don't read a ton of fantasy. So I went in expecting science fiction, but I think I'm getting fantasy, but I am up for the adventure. So if you have read Wild Seed or this series or that other series, Xenogenesis, tell me what you think. But I'm excited. I'm really curious about this book. The next one is part of a little personal project I'm doing. That is Lucy by the Sea by Elizabeth Strout. I did mention the other day that I had this coming. I'm going to take the Mylar off of this. It is a withdrawn library copy, and whenever I get a book that is a withdrawn library copy, if it's from some other place, like it's not from my library book sale, I always look up that library. I want to know where that is, at least what their website looks like, if they still kept other copies of this, and they did. And I'm actually kind of suspicious that this is not even a withdrawn copy, because there's no withdrawn or discard stamps. Nothing's crossed out. So now I'm kind of thinking it might be a case of somebody never returned the book, and then they eventually donated it and it ended up with thrift books. But I got it. It's pristine. I have it now, and I'm trying to accumulate the four what they call the Omgosh books, and there's a fifth one coming. Um, and so the one I'm missing is O. William. So now I have three of the four. I will be talking on Friday about my reread of My Name is Lucy Barton, because I did read that over the weekend. Lucy Barton's a writer from New York City, and in this book, her ex-husband William convinces her to leave the city during the COVID pandemic and to go and share a house with him that he has rented in a small town on the coast of Maine, the town where Olive Kitteridge lives. She's not specifically a part of this story, but I maintain that they are renting her house, because if you read Olive again, she goes to a senior living center, but she is renting out her house. So that is my theory. And anyway, I'm looking forward to my reread of this book, even though I haven't read it. I think I just read it about a year ago. But by the time I get up to this, it'll be a few months from now. So that is why I bought this, because I am on the lookout for nice hardback copies of these four books. The next one is definitely a case of BookTube made me do it, because it is The Bead Workers by Beth. Oh no. I was going to look this up before I made the video. Is it Piatote or Piatote? I am going to look this up and put it on the screen. But this book was recommended specifically to me by Melinda from Web of Stories in her video where she pulls out booktubers and makes a special recommendation for them and shouts them out. I'll put it down there, this particular video where she did that. When she pulled out my name, she instantly knew that this was the book she wanted to tell me about. And that's pretty strong, that she didn't have to rack her brains to come up with something. Right away it popped into her head. And I think she recommended it to me for a couple of reasons. It's short stories, and she knows how much I like short fiction. And it is written by an Indigenous author. She currently lives in California. Somebody used this copy for a class or a discussion group because they highlighted and wrote in it. So we'll see if their notes are useful or not, but that doesn't really bother me. And they stopped partway through, so I hope that they completed the course. And here's a little description. A woman teaches her niece to make a pair of beaded earrings while ruminating on a fractured relationship. An 11-year-old girl narrates the unfolding of the fish wars in the 1960s as her family is propelled to its front lines. I have never heard of the fish wars. In 1890, as tensions escalate in Wounded Knee, two young men at college, one French and the other Lakota, each contemplate a death in the family. Those sound really good. And I do love books from diverse communities, different groups of people, indigenous stories, all of that right up my alley. And so I am excited to read these books about this particular American community. The next one is another case of BookTube made me do it. Now, before I show you this book, I just have to say, so I saw this book on 2 or 3 end of the year best of lists. And I had heard about it last year as well, a couple of times when people read it, and I had kind of made a note of it, but then it just kept coming up and I became very intrigued. And so I purchased a copy, and it's also a nonfiction book. And you know that I'm looking for some nonfiction books that will really suit me to read this year to extend my reading of nonfiction. And so Jim at the Born Again Reader had this book up in his top tier. He did a video just a few days ago with tier ranking all of his books that he read last year, and I will put that into the notes. And so when I commented, I kind of teased out that one of these books is in my video of my new haul. And he tried to guess, but he guessed wrong, because he guessed that it would be Yellowface or September House. And those books are both at my library, so I will borrow those. I think I do want to read September House this year. I have that down in my TBR, and I'm not sure about Yellowface. my feelings have changed about it with all the reviews that I've heard. I'm not sure if it still be a good fit for me or not, but definitely September House. So that was a good guess. But the book is I Am Afraid of Men by Vivek Shraya. It's nice and thin. Oh, I do love a thin nonfiction book. But that's not why I picked it. I didn't pick it because it was thin. It was the subject matter sounds very interesting. So listen to this. A trans artist explores how masculinity was imposed on her as a boy and continues to haunt her as a girl, and how we might reimagine gender in the 21st century. Vivek Shraya has reason to be afraid. Throughout her life, she's endured acts of cruelty and aggression for being too feminine as a boy and not feminine enough as a girl. In order to survive childhood, she had to learn to convincingly perform masculinity. As an adult, she makes daily compromises to steel herself against everything from verbal attacks to heartbreak. Okay, I want to hear about it. I want to learn more about it. I love the cover too. I'm afraid of men. Men are afraid of me. And reading the little bio in the back, she sounds really interesting because she is not only a writer and has begun her own publishing imprint, she also writes, and then she also is in a band. She makes films. She teaches creative writing at the University of Calgary. So she sounds like she has got a lot going on, and I want to hear about these experiences. And I find just the issues of gender roles, the concepts of masculinity, femininity, and also just learning more about the trans experience. So all that sounds really interesting to me. Okay, then the last two books are basically Book People made me do it, because I was in Austin last weekend, had a chance to visit my favorite independent bookstore, and I have to buy something, right? I have to support the store. So I bought two books, also a t-shirt, which was really gratuitous because I have this t-shirt in another color. But okay, here's the thing about t-shirts. And if you like t-shirts, you know that there's a whole thing about the fabric and the fit. And sometimes you need the t-shirt in the smaller size and the bigger size, because sometimes you need the big floppy one, and sometimes you need the one that actually is the right size that you would wear with an outfit. And I didn't have the big floppy one, so I had to get it. And then also I got a journal, and I keep a written reading journal, and I go through a couple of years. Oh, it's magnetic. Yes, it has lovely metallic rainbowy spots all over it, and it was in the sales section. So I got a journal. I don't need it yet, but it's on deck, so I'm happy about that. And then I got two books. I picked Dearborn, which is a collection of short stories. This is from Tin House, who's the same imprint that publishes Morgan Talty, and I think they have a pretty interesting assortment of authors. This author was born in Washington, D.C., raised in the Middle East, doesn't specifically say which country. Now he lives in Ohio. And so it's interesting, though, he's writing about Michigan. Here's the description. A father teaches his son how to cheat the IRS and hide their cash earnings inside of frozen chickens. Okay, they had me right there. Even if I had never heard of this author or seen a few people mention him on BookTube, I'd be like, yes. Tensions heighten within a close-knit group of couples when a mysterious man begins to frequent the local gym pool dressed in Speedos printed with nostalgic images of Lebanon. And a failed stage actor attempts to drive a young Lebanese man with ambitions of becoming a Hollywood action hero to LA, but immigration and customs enforcement agents have other plans. So we have the perspectives of a diverse range of Arab Americans in Dearborn, Michigan. Okay, it sounds funny. I'm sure that it's also touching. It better be funny just from the description of those two stories. But I think there'll be more to it than that. Morgan Talty says it's one of the funniest, truest, and most heartfelt books I have ever read. Okay, my short fiction. I have a stockpile of short fiction right now, new collections to read. I have this, I have the Bead Workers, I have the Louise Kennedy book, I have the Jhumpa Lahiri book. We need to like change up, shuffle up the year and put Shorty September up next because I am ready. Whew, I'm excited. Okay, and then the last one has bookmarks sticking out of it because Steven's reading it right now, and it's Orbital by Samantha Harvey. Again, BookTube made me do it because there was a 24-hour period about a week or two ago where I saw this book come up in 3 different people's videos, and I was really intrigued because it was one of those books where what people said the book was about was one thing, and how passionately they had loved reading it was another. So just the subject matter, I would have thought, might be interesting. But they got so much out of it that I thought, well, I need to read this for myself. And first of all, and also this beautiful cover, but this book is about 6 astronauts, women and men, and they are orbiting the Earth. And they are from, it says they're from America, Russia, Italy, Britain, and Japan. So we get to know the people through moments where they communicate at home, their daily routines, the bonds that they have to form because they are out in space and otherwise would be immensely alone. And it says, most of all, we are with them as they behold and record their silent blue planet, their experiences of 16 sunrises and sunsets, and the bright blinking constellations of the galaxy are at once breathtakingly awesome and surprisingly intimate. So Stephen says it's a very contemplative sort of book, and I think that kind of book can be so powerful as long as you pick the right mood to read it, because otherwise sometimes you can't penetrate and engage in it and you're just sort of observing nice writing. But if you pick it at the right time, it can really resonate and stay with you. So that's what I'm expecting with Orbital. And I think I'm interested to see if this comes up on the BookTube prize judging list as well, because I do believe that it was in the master list that we voted from. And that is coming up in just a few days, where we will find out what is actually in the octave final. So wouldn't it be lucky for me if it turns up and I get assigned to judge and it's in my group? We'll see. All right, that is it. Just a little dash of things. And I'm excited about all of them. I'm still excited about the ones I showed you a few weeks ago. I don't even know if I've read any of those yet. I've been on, January had a lot of rereads in it, but I am excited to have this nice stockpile of new things to pull from. I must stop saying that I'm excited. You know I'm excited. I'm really excited. Anyway, tell me your thoughts about these books. And for real, now I'm slowing down. Really, only things I'm looking forward to for sure buying and upcoming in the spring and summer are some new releases that I'm greatly anticipating. The first one coming up is Moon of the Turning Leaves, sequel to Moon of the Crusted Snow, and then James by Percival Everett. So those ones are must-buys for me, and then there's more things coming down the pike. Aside from that, I'm going to try to focus on reading what I have accumulated, and also a lot of books from the library that I have marked in my TBR as books that they have available that I want to read. So that's what's coming up. Let me know what you bought recently or anything you want to say about these books, and I'll be back on Friday with Friday Reads. Have a great week. Bye-bye.